My adventures with Superman and Supergirl and Jimmy and Lois, episode 2, Mobile Suit Toyman. So that's the icon back with another DC animated television review for you, going over that My Adventures with Superman. And before we get started, hit that notification bell, like it or subscribe. Check out my other videos. Also check out my other YouTube channel, Bright Eyes Media, for all your fashion desires. And let's get started, because this was the biggest filler episode of all time. And I don't know how we're doing filler episodes by episode 2. It was an enjoyable episode, but nothing, like, only one thing of significance happened in this entire episode, and it literally didn't happen till like the last second. The rest of it was just filler. Cat Grant is back, and I love Cat Grant. She's the shade queen, and it's just, well, every time that character is on, is on television, it's awesome. So when the episode starts, Superman and Supergirl, they're flying around capturing bad guys because Clark is trying to teach Supergirl the ropes. There's a Comic-Con convention that the whole gang is supposed to be at. I don't know if Clark and Jimmy are running the convention or they just have a booth at the convention. But Superman and Supergirl, more so Supergirl, they're supposed to be guest speakers at the convention. Now, they're still doing the whole thing with Jimmy and Kara and their whole love thing about whether or not, like, obviously the girl likes him. Like, she clearly likes him. His whole thing is, she's Supergirl, he's just Jimmy Olsen. He doesn't think that he can measure up to be a mate for somebody of her caliber, which is the dumbest thing of all time. And then he even brought up like Lois and Clark as an example, and I'm just like, so for you to feel like, oh, because this is a super, you don't measure up, how do you think Lois feels? Like, if it's not a problem for Lois, like, why is it a problem for you? And it even got to the point where Kara and this is another thing, like, I thought that they were going to wait a little bit before, Kara finally says something or confess, like, her interest in him before he blows it or, like, ruins it. She said this shit in episode 2. She flat out was just like, hey, Jimmy, she was like, I like you, I want to be your mate. And then his dumb ass was like, no. He basically said, now, and to an extent, he kind of did make a point. He said it's a big world out there, and before Clark and Lois got together, Clark had a chance to see the world. He said that, you should see the world first before you make a decision this big, which is true. But the problem is, then his dumbass said, because you don't know if you'll find somebody else or find someone better. And I'm like, see, now this is your own insecurities talking. Cat Grant tried to tell him that. Lois tried to tell him that. Like, everybody tried to tell him that. See, but the thing with Kara, although she was hurt a little bit when he turned her down, she actually took his advice very practical. And then she was just like, okay, so if I'm supposed to experience other things before making such a big decision, when she went on her panel and she was talking to the audience, she said, any eligible bachelor that's in Metropolis, come to my booth and let's get to know each other, which turned into like the world's biggest speed dating event. Now he upset because he was just like, oh, I knew she'd find somebody better than me, but I didn't think it was going to be today. Like, his insecurity was very disgusting. Like, it was very disgusting in this episode. And the whole time he's just watching her talking to other guys and just getting like more and more jealous. And then Cat Grant had to say something about that too. Lex shows up. See, now this is the point where stuff actually happens in the episode. Like, Lex shows up and he said that he has a big presentation for the convention, and he's like, it's like, Olsen, it's something that you're going to want to see and everybody should pay attention. Lois now, she ended up walking around the convention and she bumped into Toyman. And Toyman, I guess he's out of jail. He's been reformed from season 1, because remember, he was wreaking havoc in season 1. And then Lois is like, oh, it's the Toyman. He's a bad guy. We can't trust him. And then he's just like, no, Miss Lane, I'm just making toys and selling toys at the convention. She didn't believe him. She harassed the bejesus out of him. And she got to the point where she was like ripping up kids' toys, trying to find like the bombs or the guns or things of that nature. And it turned to like this whole big thing because he legitimately was just regularly making toys. Clark got an alert that somebody was trying to rob a bank, so he went out there to take care of that. The person, it was like some Russian girl who had this suit on that was powered by kryptonite. The two of them fought. She made fun of Clark for fighting crime for free, and then after the kryptonite ran out on her suit, Clark beat her up and then took her to the proper authorities. The problem is, they never actually said where she got the, I mean, we assume it's Lex, but they never actually said where she got the suit from. So the whole thing about like some random villain that has a kryptonite powered suit that's just going out there, like robbing banks, like that's a little sketchy, and they never really touched on that. So Clark, after he, puts her to jail, he goes back to the convention. He runs up on Lois, who's basically harassing Toyman. He apologized to Toyman and offered to pay for the damages that Lois caused. Then Lois noticed that he had guns, he had bullets, he had weird machinery, and then she was just like, you know what, Mr. Winslow, she was like, Toyman, she said, I'm sorry for taking you seriously as a threat because you're not a threat, you're the biggest bitch in this room, and she's like, there's no way you could harm anybody. She said, I gave you too much credit because I thought you were actually serious, but she's like, no, you're just some feeble old man selling children's toys. And then he got mad, pressed the red button, and formed Voltron. And the crazy thing is, he formed this Voltron robot, got into it, and decided he was going to blow up the convention. And then Lois was like, haha, I knew it all along. And I'm like, no, bitch, that only happened because you were fucking with him. He wasn't going to destroy the Comic-Con convention. He wasn't going to hurt anybody. Yes, he had parts in his little booth area that assembled a killer robot, but he's the Toyman, so of course he's going to make something like that, but he wasn't going to actually use it. He was legitimately chilling, and she egged him on and forced his hand to try to put some respect on his name. So I'm like, she caused the very thing that she was trying to avoid. And then once he formed the robot, before Clark got a chance to take down the robot, Lex's surprise came out of nowhere, which was Hank Henshaw, Cyborg Superman. He bust out Cyborg Superman, he knocked out the Toyman robot, and then he basically like ripped open the thing, and they took Toyman to jail. And then that's when Lex Luthor, he was like, look everybody, he said that America is safe because we have an American hero, an Earth hero that's going to save us, Hank Henshaw, aka Cyborg Superman. And the funny thing is, when Lex was talking to the audience, he had a microphone in his hand, and I'm like, bro, like, what are you talking out of? Like, when he was talking, there was no microphone echo coming out of the microphone. There were no speakers anywhere. There was no camera. He wasn't on YouTube, or there was no camera people. He wasn't online. Nobody had their phones out. I'm like, why are you holding a microphone? So that was that. He got to showcase his robot to everybody that was there, and then he left. Then after that, like, Lois and the gang, they're just sitting here talking about what they're going to do now that there's a Cyborg Superman. When Supergirl was doing her panel, they were taking questions from the audience, and Cat Grant was funny because every time somebody raised their hand, she was like asking her own questions, but they took one question from an audience member, which happened to be Jessica Cruz, and she said that she liked Supergirl. And Cat actually asked a legitimate question, because Cat was like, look, we got Superman, why do we need you? And I was like, that's actually a legitimate question. But Jessica Cruz, she raised her hand, and she said that she likes Superman, but she likes Kara obviously because she's a girl, and feminism, power, and all that other crap. So, which kind of didn't answer the question, because it's basically saying the only difference is that she's a girl. But I do think that this is probably leading Supergirl to go to her own town at some point. They even did the Power Girl tease, because she said when she goes to the convention, she's going to tell everybody to call her Power Woman. But then Lois said it was too late because they already coined her as Supergirl. So, I did say that there's Power Girl DNA in Lex's clutches, but I feel like her making that statement was kind of them hinting at the Power Girl thing, but that's something that's gonna come later on. But that was basically it. The episode ended with Lex Luthor, Slade, and Cyborg Superman saying we're gonna kill Superman once and for all. The Jimmy Carr thing never got resolved. Lois didn't learn her lesson for egging on Toyman, and Superman took down one villain, which turned out to be absolutely nothing. That was how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So like I said, it's not that it was a bad episode. It was just like a filler episode. It's like everybody had a storyline and nothing happened. Nothing significant happened in anyone's storyline whatsoever. The whole thing with Jimmy and Carr is just to give Jimmy something to do. They're probably going to get together at some point, but the whole thing about I'm not good enough, that's not even really in Jimmy's MO, but I don't know. But share your questions, comments, and concerns down below. Let's continue to talk about it. What do you think about episode 2 of My Adventures with Superman? And we look forward to episode 3, and I look forward to bringing it to all of you when I can, because I will be going on vacation soon. And if I don't get a chance to upload the reviews while I'm on vacation, I'll definitely do them when I get back. So, so check me out all over social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on X, and YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. Like I said, go to Bright Eyes Media and check out my fashion videos, because I did a few fashion shows over the last couple of weeks, and I got all those videos up on my channel. And like I said, we got some other stuff coming up in the pipeline. X-Men 97 is coming soon, so we definitely want to do X-Men 97. Like I said, I might get a little behind because of my travels, but like I said, we're still dedicated dedicated to bringing all this superhero goodness with all of you. I'm also going to do a review for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I'm going to do He-Man, and I'm definitely going to do that Supergirl when Supergirl comes out at the end of this month. So that was it, guys. So thanks for tuning in. So till next time for some more DC action with the Man of Steel and the Girl of Steel, I'm up and away. And until then, we're out this. Bye!